Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Sunday service today. I am delighted to see everyone, and I do understand that some people had to actually only call. Some other people had no problem to get into the meeting. Some people were concerned if they can get connected only via the web instead of downloading an application. I will search on that. In the meeting settings, I haven't found something yet about that. Now that I'm more aware about that specific item, I will check with Zoom to get more data about the possibility to connect only via the web. So I'm going to share my screen right now because I am going to play for you this little Stay Well video. Okay, here we go.
Let's talk about something that ain't dangerous. How about this? Some things may be a little strange for us, but listen to this.
Yeah, we could start a new direction, affecting the future ahead, spreading smiles for miles, a new kind of trend.
Want a new style? How about this? Let's talk about something that's courageous. How about this?
Let's talk about something that's outrageous.
Put this at the top of your list.
Yeah, we can start a new direction, affecting the future ahead,
Spreading smiles for miles, a new kind of trend. Want a new style? Hey.
How about this?
Come on, hit me up with the pickup, y'all.
If you're stuck and gonna sit at home,
Live it up, live it up, live it up for me.
you're not alone. We can make this world on quarantine. Pick it up, just pick it up. Take this shot with me. Spread a smile, not something else. 'Cause this world is really needing your help. Spread a smile and nothing more. And we'll show this world it can be restored. You wanna smile? How about this?
Oh, yeah.
If you're stuck and gonna sit at home, live it up, live it up, live it up with me. We can live this world while quarantine. Pick it up, just pick it up.
Take this
Shot with me, yeah. Not something else. 'Cause this world is really needing your help. Spread a smile and nothing more. Nothing more. Show this world it can be restored. Spread a smile, stay well, and stay strong. This world is really moving on, keep moving on. Spread a smile and nothing more. And we'll show this world it can be restored. You wanna smile? How about this?
All right, all right, all right. So um, let's get going with this. Today I have decided to present to you a reading. One second, guys. 1 second. One quick second here. I have to find my all right. Can you guys hear me? Yes, you can. Okay. But I need to share my screen. And I'll do it right now. Okay, very good. So today I have decided to share with you, in continuation of what we discussed last week, the fundamentals of life. The topic on today's sermon is the fundamentals of life and the awareness of you. So here we go. The basic subdivision of life is between ability and mechanics. This could also be described as a subdivision of quality and quantity, but less accurately. Where mechanics have ability, the ability is only apparent and has been endowed into the mechanics of life. It is all right to suppose that an electronic brain, computer, is capable of thought as long as one realizes that life itself must necessarily be present in order to give cause and quality or direction to such brain. An electronic brain will sit all day and do nothing unless life starts the machine running. It will give millions of answers, but none of these, no matter how sharp, have any meaning until they are viewed by life. The machine is never anything more than a servo mechanism to life. Indeed, a machine cannot even exist in the absence of life. By mechanics, we mean any and all of the objects, motions, or spaces which exist. Foremost of these, and foremost in any mechanical scheme, is space. Next is energy. Next is condensed or solidified energy called matter. And finally, always present in any mechanical arrangement or mechanic, that relative change of position of particles or objects known as time. Thus, we have space, energy, matter, and time. Whether we are considering a body running on any energy, an automobile, or a mountain, we're still dealing with what we call here mechanics. Mechanics are always quantitative. There is always just so much distance or so much mass or so many hours. The quality of space, energy, matter, and time has value only when viewed, used, or monitored by life, and indeed cannot exist in the absence of life. Correct or not, this is workable and is our primary assumption. We have a world of mechanics compounded from matter, energy, space, and time, which is MEST. By MEST, we mean any and all arrangements of energy of whatever kind, whether in fluid or object form, in space or spaces. We do not conceive life to have an energy, and therefore any energy, even if directly produced by life, can be found to be embraced under the quantitative term mest. Life itself has quality and ability. The products of quality and ability are mechanics. Ability is demonstrated by the handling of matter, energy, space, and time. Quality means simply valued or having value. No values, that is to say opinions, exist in the absence of life. In the matter of such a thing as an automatic switch, we might consider that the switch is capable of making a decision whether to be off or on. However, we must remember that the original decision that the switch was to be made and that off and on could be accomplished, and indeed the design of the switch itself depended entirely upon life quality. In the field of mechanics, we do not discover creativeness. We discover varying condition, varying arrangement, deterioration and destruction of one or another form, but we do not discover any alteration in quantity. Indeed, the entire science of physics is predicated upon the assumption of conservation of energy, which is to say that energy itself cannot be created or destroyed, but can only alter its forms. To this, we might add conservation of space, conservation of matter, and conservation of time. None of these things are capable in themselves of altering. They are not capable of more than change of position or alteration of form. The physicist is very fond of demonstrating that the breaking of a vase does no more than alter the relative position of the particles and the form, and that the burning of a piece of coal does not change the basic principles of matter. Since you were to collect all the smoke, all the ash, and the particles which radiated from the burning and weighed them, you could have the same weight as before the coal was burned. In other words, the quantity of matter does not change, and as above, it does not create itself or add to itself in any way. Life, it has been adequately established, can, however, create. It can create particles, and it can add to mass. The demonstration of this on a man is an easily accomplished thing and is quite conclusive. A process known as the remedy of heaviness is capable of altering the weight of a man upwards on 20 to 35 pounds, even though there is no change whatsoever in the diet or living habits of that person. In other words, the life which is in the body of the man and which is actually the man can, by a certain process, increase the amount of mass of this man. Another process known as perfect duplication can reverse this. And again, without change of diet or the living habits of a man, decrease the amount of mass of a man without the complications of heat or waste products being present. Thus, forthrightly and directly in the same frame of reference as that used by the physicist, it is easily demonstrated that life does create mass and can cause mass to disappear. As represented by an article in Encyclopedia Britannica, it was fairly well understood that the study of physics should have begun with an examination of the mind. This article, under the heading of Time and Space, states that as space and time are mental phenomena, their proper delineation and study begins in the field of the mind. 19th century mental sciences were insufficiently schooled in science to comprehend this, and the physicist, unaware in general of such a fact, did not consider that his proper province was the mind. Thus, a misunderstanding existed in the humanities and in the sciences, where one was depending upon the other, and the result came about that neither knew his proper field of endeavor. By undertaking a study of the mind from the orientation of physics and with the application of all the principles known in chemistry, physics and mathematics, parentheses, items in which the 19th century psychologist was entirely unfamiliar and which the 20th century psychologist utterly disdains, closing parentheses, it was only when possible to produce some comprehension of this thing we call life in this place we call the physical universe. Thus, that thing which considers, that thing which has opinions, that thing which creates, that thing which monitors, that thing which has goals and desires, and which can experience is life. What we call space, time, energy, matter, forms of any kind are the byproducts of and the monitored by life. Energy, whether in the form of a mental image, a body, a tree or a rock, is alike the byproduct of life. There is no faintest difference, save only destiny and wavelength, between the space you behold around you with your physical eyes and the spaces and forms you see when you close them and behold a mental image. These things alike are energies and obey the various laws of energy. Here then we have a unit or a quality capable of bringing into being quantities such as spaces, energies, masses, and time, capable of changing and controlling these masses and energies, capable of adding to them or subtracting from them. The individual, the personality, is the awareness unit, and the awareness of awareness unit is the person. When we have arrived at a state where John Jones himself knows that he is an awareness of awareness unit, it is not his mind, his body, his clothes, his house, his car, his wife, or his grandparents. We have what is called a clear. A clear is simply an awareness of awareness unit, which knows it is an awareness of awareness unit, can create energy at will, and can handle and control, erase, or recreate an analytical mind or a reactive mind. The analytical mind is the mind which thinks, observes data, and resolves problems, and the reactive mind is that part of the mind which is totally stimulus response and contains all moments of pain and unconsciousness experienced by the individual. The difference of approach is this. Instead of erasing all the things which the awareness of awareness unit is in conflict, we make the awareness of awareness unit capable of besting and controlling all of these things which we thought he had to be in conflict. In other words, we raise the determinism of an individual up to a point where he is capable of controlling his mental pictures and the various byproducts of life. When he is capable, so far as his ability is concerned, of controlling and determining the action of these things, he is no longer aberrated. He can recall anything he wants to recall without the aid or assistance of energy masses. He can be what he wants to be. He has had restored to himself a considerable freedom. And this, for each and every one of you who cares to reach for it, it is what is attainable in Scientology. Further material about the parts of man and discoveries which explain life itself are found in L. Ron Hubbard's handbook, Scientology, The Fundamentals of Thought. These are the very fundamentals of life. So, this is really such an important reading. And on this, LRH precisely talks about what life is all about, what life can create. Many times people say, oh, life is energy. Well, energy is part of mass. Life can handle energy, can create it, can alter it, can do things to it. But life is far beyond energy, right? And he talks about that the individual, the personality, is the awareness of awareness unit. And the awareness of awareness unit is the person. And how you can achieve that state of beingness through which you are really you. Not only being the awareness of awareness unit, but being aware of being the awareness of awareness unit. So, pretty fascinating. Any comments, anything that somebody would like to share?
I can.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, Demi.
Hey.
It made a lot of sense. It was a real blowout. It really correlates to how we run NED and how we go clear. And it's exactly true. And it's a great thing to hear on Father's Day. Just, returning back to, what we are as native state. So it was extremely, extremely enlightening.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you like that. Glad you enjoyed.
That was awesome.
Fantastic. Anybody else? Anybody else would like to share something? Okay. All right. So another item I would like to discuss today, and the sermon today, the reading, it was rather lengthy, but I would like to discuss a little bit the fact of reopening the orgs and really the overall guidance that has come down from management about the process of reopening the orgs. And I would like, if we have in the meeting right now, in the service right now, Mitch Drobin to just share a few things from his side before I talk a little bit about that. Mitch, are you with us right now? Perhaps Mitch is not with us right this moment. So what I want to talk about then is, but it is very important to open the orgs safely. And I received earlier today a phone call from Mitch Drobin, who went over with me the direction of management in regards to making absolutely certain. Okay, hold on a second, guys. I think that I will unmute pretty much everybody because some people were trying, they say, to speak and they couldn't. So go ahead. If I have unmuted right now everybody who is in this call, unless you muted yourself. So please go ahead and speak up.
I was just saying, I didn't, you spoke to Mitch today, I think, but I know the org staff have been pretty flat out on cleaning and prepping the org, so they're probably not on this call because they've been pretty full time on that.
Yes, and Mitch asked me to share a few things and some of the guidelines in terms of the cleanliness and safety measures that we should be taking. And definitely, I encourage you all to go to the Scientology. Let me put that up right now. I'm going to share my screen once again. I encourage you all to go to Scientology TV, Keep Well, and to Scientology.org, Stay Well, where there is a lot of information, a lot of things that you have, that you can download to provide you with lots of information. Okay, so I am going to put now up on the screen both some of my personal recommendations as well as CDC guidelines and recommendations. CDC stands for the Centers for Disease Control. I know that, unfortunately, I should say, the whole coronavirus situation that we have in the world, it has been heavily politicized. And you can see and hear opinions, not necessarily scientific data, but you can hear opinions from various sides. You can see images that you may approve or disapprove. Okay, so outside of any political preferences or political ideologies or political things, in reality, when we get down to the practical things of dealing with this situation, there are very specific guidelines that can be used, must be used, that there is scientific evidence to back them up about their effectiveness. And I am talking specifically about the utilization of masks, gloves, and proper social distancing guidelines. Okay, so there is actually scientific evidence that shows that if you do not use masks, gloves, and social distancing, and you are in the environment of another person who is infected, you have about 17 to 18% chance for that infection to come to you. At the same time, if you are wearing those those masks and gloves, and if you follow social distancing, then you have only 3 point something percent to get infected. So from the very, very first moment that I started, I went back and I checked my Sunday services, right? PowerPoint presentations. From the very first or second PowerPoint presentation that I did on a Sunday service, I put up there these guidelines. Follow general guidelines of cleanliness, clean surfaces, use masks, use gloves when appropriate, follow social distancing guidelines, and I am adding do some hot showers and follow general hygiene. In general, sauna or steam helps. Exercise is very important. Walk out there. Eat healthy. Taking vitamins, especially zinc and vitamin D3. And of course, being on extension course and keeping close to source and flourishing and prospering. What does that all do? It keeps your tone higher. When you are in higher tone, and again, I'm not gonna talk about in Scientology terms right now, but when you are in a higher tone, you are happier. Your immune system is stronger when you are happier. So you need to follow these things. And I'm gonna have actually Wendy speak also in a moment, since she happens to be at Flag, so she can describe to us a little bit of what's going on there and how the different guidelines are being followed. But I know that some people are asking the question, and they say, okay, you know what? We're Scientologists. We're not getting sick. Well, look. First of all, within a Scientology organization, you have a lot of different people. You have people that are at various levels on the bridge. You have different people who are at different levels of awareness, consciousness, and therefore different levels of ability to control the body. So you are going to see then different type of responses. What we have seen from our Scientology organizations and from management is the highest levels of responsibility that our orgs have taken and our religion has taken to really cater to all Scientologists, to all levels of Scientologists, by following very specific, appropriate guidelines to protect everybody. So we need to continue doing that. And our orgs will open in Long Island. Our org will open in Long Island. It will be open following lots of these guidelines and making sure that everybody will be protected and safe. So Wendy, just give us some data from your side about what's going on at Flag now.
Okay, so they're still, as far as I know, not accepting arrivals from New York, but I was in West Virginia for the last 3 months, so I was able to come down. I am in quarantine. Today's my last day. Actually, at 5 o'clock, I move over to the Sandcastle. It is very interesting how they handle it. You arrive and you go immediately into your room, whatever room that is. I drove, so they took my car keys and all my stuff, and they fogged with the Decon 7 my car, and then they brought my stuff to me, and I had to take all the clothes I wore off and put them in a plastic bag for laundry, and then shower and change into clean clothes. And then they come and you have to lay out all your clothes, and then they fog the room with all your clothes laid out so that everything is disinfected. And then basically for 7 days, you are in your room. You can go for quick walks in a garden area. And then the MLO comes every single day, takes my temperature and has a little questionnaire to check how I'm doing, any issues. And then they also give you a test when you first arrive, 2 tests for the virus, and then today I will be getting another 2 tests to make sure I don't have it before I can move over into the public areas. My mom arrived yesterday, and she actually tested positive for the antibodies, but negative for the virus. So they said the MLO congratulated her on having had the virus at one point and never having any symptoms. But so if you've had the virus and you know you have, or if you know you've tested positive, it's a good idea to let them know ahead of time if you're coming down here, just so that they are not because now they're doing other tests because she had no idea she had it. She thinks she may have had it over a year ago, actually. She had some trouble breathing for 2 days, and that was it. And that's the only time she's been sick in the last year and a half. So it's just an interesting thing, but they are really taking precautions to keep everybody healthy. And I happen to have parlor room, which is 2 rooms, a suite, and it's very comfortable. They bring you anything you need. Food is delivered to your room in disposable containers, and everybody that I interact with is wearing the full hazmat gear, I could call it, the full things that we wore when we did the distribution of the booklets to the businesses and neighborhoods. So that's what it's like.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. That's fantastic, Wendy. And then definitely next Sunday you are going to talk to us more about what is like in the AO, since you are going to be there. I'll actually this week I'm going to be going down to Clearwater. Unfortunately, not at the base because I can't. It's just that I have to do some personal things. All right. Mitch, something from your side? I think you might be on right now.
Yeah, I'm on. It's just the emphasis on, from management is not to let our guard down. It's a sneaky disease. You don't know. You've got it in the beginning and you can spread it very easily. And, the idea is to wear masks and gloves when you're, when you're in New York, but also when you're outside, to keep your house, cleaned, sanitized, and don't let the precautions down because, the disease is becoming less. It could be quite insidious. And the idea is the top priorities for all staff and public to be safe, and management has emphasized this tremendously. If you're in your house, you should be sanitizing it. And when you go out, you should wear a mask and gloves and, just keep the social distancing precautions in. I mean, this is all very important. And this was just, re-emphasized to me by top management yesterday. So, please follow all the rules and we just won't have the disease in our life. Okay?
Exactly. Thank you, Mitch. And before you got on the call, I did follow your instructions, and I presented several of the general guidelines and the CDC guidelines, some of my recommendations, and then Wendy emphasized also similar things and gave us her experience from FLAG. So that's very important. Okay, good. I am going to play right now a quick video on personal integrity, and then we're going to go to announcements. Here we go.
What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed. And that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, nobility, all these things as esoteric terms. But they would all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing. That we always observed to observe. And not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind. Not necessarily maintaining these things at all. But certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it. And it is true according to your observation. That is all.
Okay. So announcements. Mitch and Wendy.
We're moving forward. We don't have permission to open yet, but I think it's going to be forthcoming very shortly. And we'll be inviting, in phase one of the reopening, we'll be inviting people into the org because, you know, we're keeping social distancing and a limited number of people to start with. So as soon as management approves, we'll call people and invite them in. Hopefully that will be soon. And we'll also keep going on your extension courses. They're just totally wonderful. You know, I listen to it all the time, and it is beyond incredible. It's given me a whole new viewpoint. So get it yourself and do your lessons. Okay, Demi, that was it for me.
Thank you. Wendy, how about you?
Yes, so we have OT committee tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Through GoToMeeting. And then on July 11th, we will be having an event, an online event, Celebration of Freedom, so in lieu, in having to do with the Independence Day. It's a 1 week later. I didn't want to actually do it on the 4th of July on Independence Day. But Kurt Larson will be speaking, and the topic is how to be OT in any environment. So that is on Saturday, July 11th at 6:30 p.m., and it will be one of those online events. I'll send the link out to you closer to the actual time. And it will be, of course, an Ideal Org event for Long Island Org. And that's all I have.
Okay. This is fantastic. Thank you, Wendy. All right. So at this point, we're going to be just doing two more readings. One is the Creed of the Church of Scientology, and the other one, the Scientology Prayer for Total Freedom. Here we go.
We of the Church believe
that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights.
That all men have inalienable rights.
To their own religious practices and their performance.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their own lives. That all men have inalienable rights
to their sanity.
That all men have inalienable rights
to their own defense.
That all men have inalienable rights
to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, and governments.
That all men have inalienable rights
to think freely, to talk freely,
to write freely their own opinions,
and to counter or utter
or write upon the opinions of others.
That all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind.
That the souls of men have the rights of men.
That the study of the mind
and the healing of mentally caused ills
should not be alienated from religion
or condoned in non-religious fields.
And that no agency less than God
have the power to suspend or set aside these rights, overtly or overtly.
And we of the Church believe
that man is basically good.
That he is seeking to survive.
That his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows.
And his attainment of brotherhood with the universe.
And we of the Church believe
that the laws of God forbid man
to destroy his own kind,
to destroy the sanity of another,
to destroy or enslave another's soul,
to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group.
And we of the Church believe
that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body.
May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand, so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness, that is total freedom. May God let it be so. So thank you all for attending Sunday service. As I said, the Sunday services are being recorded. They are in the Long Island Org Sunday Service YouTube channel, and we will be sending you appropriate links at a later time. See you all next Sunday, and have an amazing and productive week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Demi.